Hey, chestnuts. So now we're going to do a game on the Prince of Chess. Oh! Alrighty. Let's see what our new superstar has in store for us today. Does he win or does he lose? This is the Prague Chess Festival 2020. And before this game, Firouzja got 2 draws, right? Against Rager and I think Grandelius. The first game had an interesting sack. It was pretty cool, but it led to a draw. And this next game we're about to see. Let's analyze. Okay. See what happens here against Firouzja, white, Harikrishna, black. E4! E5! Okay, then knight to F3, knight to C6, bishop to B5, the Rui Lopez, right? A6, bishop to A4, knight to F6, castle. This is normal Rui Lopez, bishop to E7, D3, B5, attacking this bishop, and putting some, putting some holes here. Bishop to B3, D6, C3, playing for the center. Castle. So everything's super normal. H3, because you don't want this pin, right? And sometimes you have these knight maneuvers here. H3, knight to A5, and you want to preserve this bishop, so you go to C2, D5. So this is all super standard. D4, even this is pretty standard. You can also play knight to D2, right? But D4 is played. Queen to C7, and then Firouzja chose to close the position. You can also hold the position with queen to E2, right? Or perhaps rook to E1. But Firouzja tried to gonna go for like a maneuvering game, so he playing positionally now. Okay, D5, knight to C4. Now this knight has tagging some good squares. Okay, B3, kicking this knight away. Knight to B6, and then you have A4 contesting this pawn chain. Okay, bishop to E3 is also like a possibility here. Right, but Firouzja goes for attacking the pawn chain immediately. Then C4. A takes B5, A takes B5. You can also play C takes B3. This is also possible. And then after which you can go bishop to D3, reinforcing this pawn. If bishop takes B3, then knight takes E4, and you don't. Losing your center pawns. Right, bishop to D3. Then knight D7, then queen takes, knight to C5, queen to C2, knight takes, queen takes, and then F5 to attack. So this is all very thematic moves. So this is a possibility too. Yeah. The next, A takes B5, and then rook takes A8, and then knight takes A8, the only way to get the knight back. So putting this knight in the corner, and it's like, I know Ben Feingold likes to put his knights in corners, but maybe that's not a cool thing to do. Alright, so here white has a slight advantage just because his pieces are not, it has more space, right? His pieces are not as congested. So let's see what black tries to do about it. Okay, take C4, take C4. You can also play queen takes C4 and then bishop to D3. Queen C7 and then queen to E2. Going for this. But black, and then you could maybe play this to defend it. But black probably doesn't. Black probably wants all the pawns to be connected eventually, right? So it'll just be an isolated pawn there if you don't capture with it. So B takes C4 and then bishop to A3. You could also play bishop to E3, and it might even be the better move. But Firouzja likes to play for pressure, right? So he plays bishop to A3, and it has more pressure with these pieces on the same diagonal and attacking this pawn. So it may look like since on b3 in e3 it has more squares to go, and it's more flexible here. But Firouzja is just playing here for pressure, right? This is why the GM Daniel King compares him to Fischer sometimes. Okay, knight to d7, bishop to b4, knight to c5, queen to e2, going for this pawn. Knight to b6, knight b to d2. You can also go to knight to a3. That's also possible. But however, this is slightly more flexible move. Knight b to d2. If you go here, you have a chance to go to take that square and attack, right? The queen. So, but Firouzja prefers his knight to be in the center. So slightly more principled move. f5 attacking this, and rook to d1. You could also play e takes f5 and then knight to d3 right here, right? If bishop takes f5, then bishop takes f5, then rook takes, and then knight takes, and this is very, very, very good for white. So knight to d3 and then f6, because your pawn will be captured anyway by this bishop, right? So might as well not develop black's bishop and push this pawn and like kind of disorient the pieces a little bit. So rook takes. You gotta take it, or it's gonna, it's attacking these two pieces. Rook takes, bishop takes, c takes, and then queen takes. And this is pretty good for white. All right, white has more space, putting pressure. Even though if black can try to open the position and activate the bishop pair, black might be like, ooh, I got these. But I think it's a lot better for white here. So knight has these ideas. These knights are definitely not constrained. All right. So here, but instead rook to d1 and then g6, and maybe he's misassessed because sometimes you want to play for the king side, right? There are no pawns here. Usually you would want to play for one side of the board, but there are no pawns here. So to play for the king side, you gotta push the pawns in front of your king, or at least black has to. But it may open up way too many holes here and expose the king a little too much. So maybe he's misassessing his advantage. But all right, misassessing whether you should go for the win or not. All right, bishop to b7, bishop to a5, knight here. This is also possible. Instead of pushing this pawn, right, we have these moves. Okay, bishop, queen, then bishop takes, and bishop to b4, and then white's still a little better, but it's not catastrophic. All right, so that was the one possibility. Okay, g6, and then we have queen to e3, targeting these weaknesses, and then Pentala's like, ain't all about that. I'm gonna close this. f4. Okay, queen to e2, bishop to a6, aiming this bishop at the queen, rook to a1, and then rook to a8. Another possible move is knight to d7 to remaneuver this knight, right? Knight captures, bishop to b5, and then rook to a5. All right, but that's not what happened. Rook to a8, and then we have queen to f1. Another possible move is also queen to d1, which actually looks slightly more flexible, right? Queen to f1 doesn't look as flexible, but okay. Queen to c8, rook a5, and knight c d7. You can also play knight to b3. Uh-oh, that looks scary. And you can't really capture... Well, you can capture this, right? You can not right now. With the bishop, if you capture with the knight, then it's gonna be disastrous. Because this queen is aiming, right? So, knight c to d7, and then queen to a1. Bishop to b5, knight to b1. So it's like a lot of maneuvering games. Okay, g5. Rook takes a8. Knight takes a8. And then queen to a7. Then knight to c7. It might have been better here to like go queen to a6 to try to exchange the queens. Right, instead of going Knight to c7, you go queen to a6, and then queen takes a6, and then bishop takes a6, right? And then knight goes to a3. All right, but knight to c7, and then knight to a3, and bishop to a6, bishop to a4, and so here Firouzja is really playing playing to squeeze the position, right? Not really playing for like crazy tricks, but slowly but surely like gaining space. So let's see how he keeps doing that. Knight to like look at all of Harikrishna's pieces here, just stuck. Whereas Firouzja's pieces are just aiming at the and like trying to get advantages, right? Alrighty, so what happened was knight to f6 is next. The knight takes this pawn. The knight takes this pawn, which is a little interesting. What Harikrishna could have done was just push the h pawn, right? And then knight to e6. But I don't know. Firouzja had barely wasted time at this point, and whereas Harikrishna was getting lower and lower. So and like he was getting pressed. Look at how strong all of Alireza's pieces are. So maybe h6 is slightly more, and it would open up more holes to the king. So he goes for this desperate move. Knight takes, e takes, then bishop takes. Yeah, you activated the bishop, but all these holes. No. Okay, bishop takes, knight takes, and then bishop to d7. So just slowly but surely getting. So his pieces are doing like two things, right? Attacking these pieces, like these black pieces are so just like uncoordinated right now, and also aiming at the king. So right here, like Alireza is just completely winning. Like the king is way too exposed. Queen to b7 to block. Bishop here first, check. And then king there, not going to the corner, which looks even scarier. So king there, and then check. Then queen, then bishop blocks. Bishop goes to f6 to block. And queen to d4. Oh man, and here black resigned. And I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes. See if you can figure out why black resigned. The Prince of Chess is too much. Okay, let's see why Harikrishna resigned against the Prince of Chess. Okay, queen to c6 is one possibility. But at this point, if you just go queen to c6, right? Bishop just captures this pawn for free. I mean, this, yeah. So, knight to e7, this knight for free, I mean. Then, bishop takes f6, check. King to g6, and then you can preserve this and it's mate soon. Or, I mean, you're just up ahead a piece, right? Okay. And if queen goes to e7, then you just simply just capture this knight. Firouzja's bringing back dynamic chess. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go. Hype train. Yeah. Okay, if you guys like this video, please make sure to hit the like button. And definitely hit the subscribe button like a clock. As well as the notification bell like clock. See this face again. Making chess commentary. Alright, and I'll see you guys next time.